Good morning, children. In today's physics class, we are going to see light and its properties in detail. What is light? What happens if there is no light? For our earth, the natural source of light is sun. We are able to see the objects around us only by the reflection of light. If there is no light, we cannot see the objects. Light travels extremely fast and over long distances. It has color and it has different intensities or energy. What do you mean by it has energy? It carries energy. What does that mean? It means the light particles carry certain amount of energy with them as they pass through the object. So now you can question me, ma'am, did you tell the word as light particle? Is light a particle? Yes, we would see that in detail in today's class. Property number 1. Light always travel in straight line. This we are learning from our lower grades. The best experiment to demonstrate that light always travel in straight line is with the help of the cardboard sheet, a blackboard and a torchlight. Now, place a blackboard at one end. Then, in front of the blackboard, place a cardboard sheet with a hole in the center. Now, allow the torchlight to pass through the cardboard sheet and notice what happens in the blackboard. Did you find a circular spot of torchlight in the blackboard? Yes, it indicates that light is traveling in straight path. Light always travels very fast. The speed of light is 3 lakh kilometers per second, or we often consider as 3 into 10 power 8 meter per second. In kilometer per hour you can express, or in meter per second you can express. The speed of light is very fast, such a way it can go around the world 7 point times within a second. Can you imagine, my dear children? Within a second, circling the entire world is 7.5 times. How fast the light travels. Light travels faster than sound. This we have already experienced in our daily life. During rain, thunder and lightning happens at the same time, but we see the lightning first and then the thunder sound. The same experience we have come across in the pistol. Pistol means a gun. When we shoot a gun, the fire comes first and then the sound at the back. So light always travels fast and light comes first and then only we can hear the sound. Now, for my question, that is light a particle? The answer is yes, light is a particle as well as a wave. So, light has two natures. It can either act as a wave or as a particle. So, you know what is a wave? What is a wave, my dear children? You can better take a thread in your hand and tie both the ends of the thread in two different edges and then disturb the thread. What happens? The thread vibrates. Yes, the vibration of the thread is in the form of a motion like this. That is your wave. Whenever an object is disturbed, the disturbance is passed in the object in the form of vibrations, in the form of waves. The vibrations are going to travel in the form of wave. Like that only your light also travels as a wave. The wave is made up of particles like this. When I join small particles and if it moves in the motion of a wave, then can I tell that light is both a wave and a particle? So now when I join all these small dots, I get the wave. So light is both a wave and a particle. Particle is nothing but the small amount of energy carried by the light while traveling. So light always travels in straight line but as a wave. The wave contains small particles which carries the energy required for traveling. So now when I call the light carrying certain amount of energy as a particle, it is given a name called as photon. Light particles are always called as photons. Their photons are nothing but your light particles and they carry certain amount of energy for traveling. Yes, light travels in wave, but it is made up of tiny particles called photons. What is a wave? That is nothing but the disturbance created which carries the energy through the space. So now let us think about a desk. The desk is in a position. If I am dragging the desk, I am going to change the movement of the desk from rest to motion. So there is some action done over there. There is some disturbance given to the desk which was initially in the rest position. So the disturbance given will be transmitted as vibrations, as waves. Okay. The sound wave is an oscillation of air. How is it possible for you to hear whatever I am speaking? It is because of the movement of air molecules. The air molecules will serve as a platform for the sound waves to travel from my mouth to your ear and then the sense of hearing. So this sound wave is also because of the vibration or the disturbance caused by the air molecules. Can I tell like that, my dear? Yes. Next, we are seeing the water waves. There is a pool or some lake or pond or river. If you throw a stone to the water gets disturbed and you could see the water waves traveling on the surface of the water body. That disturbance, that vibration caused can be called as your water waves. So, whenever there is a wave, the wave is caused because of the vibrations. So who caused the wave and what is that wave actually is? It is your electricity and magnetism, because in that object, whenever you are disturbing, the vibrations are produced and the vibrations are traveled as waves, and the wave is caused by the phenomena of electricity and magnetism, and that is why light is called as an electromagnetic wave. Did you understand, my dear children? I repeat again that whenever there is a disturbance, a vibration will be produced. The vibration caused is transmitted. Transmitted in the sense like it is from one object to another object. Now you are lying in your desk. When someone taps the desk, how does the tapping of the desk, the sound produced here is heard by you? Because of the vibration caused in the desk. So, what caused the vibrations of tapping to travel and reach your ears? That is by the waves produced. So, how was the wave produced? By the phenomena of electricity and magnetism. That we will be learning in detail in your higher grades. So, you have to keep in your mind that light is an electromagnetic electromagnetic wave. How am I telling the wave of a light as electromagnetic? Because it is created by the electricity phenomena and magnetism phenomena. Yes. Next, we are going to classify the objects with respect to the light. This you have already learnt in your lower grades, just a recall of it. So, luminous objects means the objects which can emit their own light. Example, sun and stars. They are of two sources, natural sources and artificial sources. Natural sources are your sun and star, whereas artificial sources are like your fire and lamp. They are also emitting their own light. The next is non-luminous objects. Non-luminous objects means which do not produce their own light. The objects which do not emit light of their own. Example, moon, table, chair. All the objects which we see around us are non-luminous objects if they do not emit their own light. So, why moon a non-luminous object, my dear children? We are having the moonlight in the night time, right? Then how can moon be a non-luminous object? So does it mean that moon do not produce its own light? Yes, moon do not produce its own light. Then how do we get the moonlight in the night? It is because of the reflection of the sun's light. The moon will absorb 93% of the sun's light and just reflect 7% of the sun's light to the earth during the night time. Next, classification of non-luminous objects as transparent, translucent and opaque. Transparent objects which will allow light to pass through them. Example, glass. Translucent which will partially allow the light to pass through. Example, your butter paper, trace papers. Opaque objects which do not allow the light to pass through them. Example, wood. We human beings are also opaque objects. Yes. Next is your shadows. How are shadows formed? Whenever there is a blockage of light, when I keep an object blocking the path of the light rays, then the shadows are formed. We humans are itself a opaque object, so that is why we see the shadows of our own self. The sizes of the shadows varies depending upon the source of light and its distance. If the sun is too near and if the sun is too far from any object, then correspondingly its size and the size will be, its size in the sense the shadow's size will be varied. Yes, the shape of a shadow can be changed by its position of the light source and the position of the object. I can either change the position of the light source in the sense I can take it as a torch light. You do this in your home and see, my dear children. Take a torch light and take any object like your textbook or whatever, the small toys or dolls, whatever you have. Now go inside a dark room, switch on the torch light and don't disturb the torch light. Now you are going to move the position of the object which you have considered alone. Notice what happens to the size of the shadow. Okay, this is case number 1. Case number 2. Now you are going to place your object in the same one on end. You are not going to disturb the object. Okay, now you are going to move the position of the light source alone. That is your torch light. So with respect to the position of the light as well as with respect to the position of the object, the shadows sizes are varied. Yes. The next property is reflection. What is reflection? To understand this better, go stand before the mirror with a torch in your hand. Switch on the torch. The light from the torch falls on the mirror surface. And then, what did you notice, my dear children? Did the traveling path of the light was changed? Did you notice the light moving in the opposite direction from the mirror surface? Yes, that is the reflection. So, whenever there is a light source hitting on any object, like example mirror, it gets transformed to another direction of light. That is what called as your reflection. So, incident ray is nothing but the ray from which the light comes from the torchlight in our experiment. As soon as we switch on the torchlight, the light from the torch falls on the mirror. So this is the incident ray. I called that source of light as my incident ray. And what did we notice? From the mirror, the light was traveling in the opposite direction. That was the end result. No, my dear children? Yes. So, in the end result, the light's traveling path was changed and it was in the opposite direction. So, after the change in the traveling path, the direction in which the light ray is traveling is called as my reflected ray. So my initial source of light is incident ray, and after reflection the same light source which is going in the opposite direction will be reflected ray. Okay. So this, where do we apply the reflection principle of light? We are able to see the objects itself only by reflection of light. Like how does the moon reflect the sun's light to us? Similarly, all the objects will allow the light to fall on them, and then reflection happens, and only the mirror image is observed by the human eyes, and from the human eye through the sensory nerves the mirror images are taken to the brain and we are able to see it clearly. So please be clear, my dear children, we are able to see the objects around us just because of light. So if there is light, it enables us to see, because by the principle of reflection. If there is no light, no reflection is possible, and that is why we cannot see the objects during darkness. So now I am going to divide the incident ray and the reflected ray into exact two equal halves by a straight line called as normal. This normal is nothing but for our calculations we will be using it. This will be not seen in the experimental verifications. Only during the calculations we are segregating the incident ray and reflected ray into two equal halves for a purpose of calculation. This normal is a straight line which is dividing the incident ray and reflected ray into two equal halves, and it can also be defined as a straight line drawn perpendicular to the reflecting surface. So what is meant by reflecting surface? The mirror in our experiment is the reflecting surface. The object's surface is the reflecting surface. So if I wanted to see the washing machine is an object, and the object's surface will be my reflection surface, so that when sun's light falls on the washing machine, it gets reflected and the light rays are received by my eyes, enabling me to see the object. Okay, my dear children. Next, there are two more parameters which you should be knowing it. Whenever I measure the angle from normal to the reflected ray, it is angle of reflection. Only between normal and reflection, my dear children, I am not measuring any angle with respect to the reflecting surface. Only with respect to my normal. If I measure the angle between incident ray and the normal, then it is the angle of incidence. Are you clear what is meant by incident ray? The light source comes and falls on any reflecting surface is the incident ray. Example, the light from the torch falling on the mirror. What is reflected ray? After reflection, there occurs a change in the traveling path of the light, and that ray, in which direction it is passing, it is your reflected ray. Understood, my dear children? Any doubt, please call me. Next property, diffraction. The bending of light around an obstacle. Okay, so this is observed in spotlights, flashlight beams, and light shining out from a classroom. This would be better understood with this picture. So, this is an obstacle. Okay, this is an obstacle, and the gap between the obstacle is wider here. It is a wide gap. So, the light which was initially traveling in straight line, after passing through an obstacle, gets bent and then again trying to come to the same straight path. Okay, so this is called as diffraction. Narrow gap here in this second case. This is your first case, this is your second case. You have a very little gap in the obstacle, so there occurs a large bending of light, and at last trying again to retain to the original straight path of lines. So diffraction means nothing, bending of light rays with respect to the obstacles. So that is why whenever you switch on the torch light, you could see the bending of light rays coming in the V shape and then reaching at the end as a straight line. What is dispersion? This you have already learnt. Dispersion is nothing but the splitting of white light into 7 different colors. The 7 different colors is nothing but your rainbow colors. That is called as your dispersion. So, this is what is your dispersion. I will explain this by using a prism for the experiment. You know what is a prism? If you don't have a prism in your home, take your glass scale which you have in your stationery box and just look at through the light. You have the glass near your eyes and try looking the tube light in your home. Can you see some different colors coming from the white light of the tube light which is visible for you? If so, please tell me. That is called as dispersion. The white light, whenever I'm going to pass a white light through a glass prism or a glass slab or a glass scale, it gets splitted. The splitting is called as your dispersion. It gets splitted into 7 different colors. That is your VIBGR. That is your rainbow colors. That is your spectrum. See how many names? The splitting of white light into 7 different colors is called as dispersion, and the 7 colors are nothing but your VIBGR or rainbow colors or spectrum. That is what we call technically in physics as spectrum. Okay, my dear children? Yes. This is just an introduction to lenses. When you learn light chapter, it should be known to you. Lenses are nothing but those who are having wearing specs. Those who have power in their eyesight will wear specs. So depending upon their eyesight, the difference in their eyesight's power, they will be given 2 types of lenses: convex lens and concave lens. The lenses are made up of glass or plastic. It is nothing but some curved surfaces covered to enable the human beings to have a proper eyesight. So, I will show the lens, prism, everything in the class. I will take you to the lab once the school reopens. So, this is how, before that, please do watch these pictures. This is a convex lens and this is a concave lens. When I give you these two types of lenses, you can identify it only by touching the surface of the lens. In a convex lens, the surfaces will be bulged like this. When you touch it, both the end surfaces of the lens will be bulged. Whereas a concave lens will be hollow. It has gone inside like this, as if something there is a one hollow space in the center and thick at the edge. So such kind of lenses are your concave lens. That is what they have described in a sentence as: the convex lens will be thick at the center and thin at the edge, whereas concave lenses will be thin at the center and thick at the edge. You can describe it by touching, but when you write as a sentence, you need to describe its appearance like this: thick at the center and thin at the edge in case of a convex lens, and thin at the center, thick at the edge in case of a concave lens. Yes. So this is your first one is your convex lens. So convex lens is always called as converging. The other name of convex lens is converging lens. The next one is concave. The concave lens is also called as diverging lens. Keep these names in your mind, my dear children. Yes. So, next we are going to see two types of images: virtual image and real image. What do you mean by virtual image and real image? A virtual image is nothing but the image of your mirror. When you stand in front of the mirror, the exact picture of your own self is obtained, is seen on the mirror. Can you get it in any screen like this? I can better say it with an example. Place a mirror near a wall. Now you stand in front of the mirror. The image of yourself is seen on the mirror. Yes, but can you get the image of yourself on the wall? If you stand in front of the wall, is your image obtained on the wall or the shadow of yourself obtained on the wall? It is your shadow seen on the wall. So, the images which cannot be obtained on any screen is called as virtual images. Okay? Now, all the objects around you are seen by us clearly. Can you get the image seen by your eyes on a screen? உன் கண்ணில் தெரிகிற அந்த இமேஜை நீ ஒரு ஸ்க்ரீனில் ப்ரொடியூஸ் பண்ண முடியுமா? முடியாது. That is not at all possible. So, the virtual images cannot be obtained on a screen, whereas real images can be obtained on the screen. Where do we see the real images? In cinema theaters. Have you been a theater? Can you see a very big, large screen in front of you in the theater? And a small hole which is used for allowing the light to come at the back of your seat. So, from the theater operating room, the light sources will be entering the theater with the hole, and then it falls on the screen, and the images are seen by us clearly. So, with the light, if the images can be obtained on the screen, means it is your real images. Whereas all the mirrors and the human eyes will give you only virtual images, because those types of images cannot be obtained on the screen. Understood, my dear children? So real images means can be obtained in screen. Example, theater. Theater screen is your real image. Virtual image means cannot be obtained in the screen. Example, mirror and humans eye vision. I hope you got an idea, my dear children. So if you have any doubt, please call me, and regarding today's homework, I have given you a worksheet, and try to answer this after watching this video clearly. Thank you, my dear children.